from around the globe. It's theCUBE, with coverage of SUSECON Digital. Brought to you by SUSE.
Welcome back, I'm Stu Miniman, and this is theCUBE's coverage of SUSECON Digital 20. Really excited we get to talk to the SUSE executives, their partners, and their customers. In this segment, we have one of the customers. He's in the keynote. Really excited to talk to him, Günther Tschabuschnig. He is the CIO of ZAMG. If you're not familiar with them, they are the Central Institution for Meteorology and Geodynamics, the oldest weather service in the world, based out of Austria. Günther, thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
All right, so obviously, weather, something we are very interested on theCUBE. We talk how important data is, and data is of course central to what your service is doing, providing data to organizations that they can do lots with it. Give us a little bit. We probably don't have time to go through the 150 plus year history of the organization, but tell us a little bit about what your organization does, and especially your role as CIO. What's involved with that?
Let me hook in one thing you said. We are the oldest weather service in the world. I always tell people we are doing big data analytics till 1851. And actually, that's true. We have actually two big data centers based in Austria. We are operating about 20 petabytes of data, 100,000 data sets per minute. What is very, very interesting for tech guys, we have one small data center additional on over 3,000 meters above sea level on the observatory. It's in the middle of the glacier. You can't imagine how cool that is when you go up into the glacier, and there you have a lot of sensors, a lot of measurements, and a lot of data collecting configurations. Actually, we are also using a lot of supercomputers. We do simulating, we do a lot of AI, we do big data analytics, and the most important thing, we do a lot of cooperation with the people that are out there.
Yeah, in 1851, wasn't exactly supercomputers. You're gathering data from a lot of sources. Help us understand a little bit. What are some of the asks that the business have for you? What are the kind of challenges in 2020 that might be a little bit different than they were years ago?
Weather comes from quite different source. Actually, in 1851, it was more for the king, for their wars. Nowadays, it's much more peaceful, thank God. It's more for sporting, it's more for producing things, it's a lot for logistics, but it's actually for all the human people out there. And therefore, we have to use a lot of data, a lot of processes, and a lot of different customer journeys. Our most important thing is customer first. So we try to produce our forecasts, our integrated processes, especially for the customers. Just a quick example is the Olympic Winter Games. The ZAMG is doing the forecast for the last two Winter Games because we are doing nowcasting. We're very good at nowcasting. That means the forecast between the next 5 minutes to 15 minutes with a vertical grid of 100 to 150 meters, which is very, very important for some kind of events. But we do other forecasts as well. The only thing we cannot forecast, but we also do earthquakes. That means natural earthquakes on the one side. On the other side, artificial earthquakes, which are produced through normally bombs or nuclear bombs. And we are working with the CTPTO, the UN organization, together to analyze and to measure these illegal nuclear tests to make the world a little bit a better place.
Yeah, so Günther, it's interesting. You mentioned in the early days it was, weather for the king. One of the things we look about in data, especially in the public sector, is, what data, where do you collect it from? How much sharing is there? Can you talk a little bit about, how it goes kind of beyond your borders? And is there, I guess, how do you work with other organizations? Is there any of the data that's shared, any of the models shared? How does that work together in your organization?
The most important thing is to link data, to link our data to other organizations, and to collect other data from other organizations. It's not forecast anymore. It's forecast integrating into processes, especially in the business processes. Weather doesn't stop at the borders. That's the good thing. So we had a lot of collaboration with our neighbors, with other weather services from our neighbors. That's one thing. To have the big picture for our models, for our simulations. But what we also do is a lot of crowd data. Because the more data we get, the more data we can assimilate to our model, the better, the higher is the resolution of our forecast. So we do a lot of integration of this crowd source weather. That could be, on the one hand, a simple app. That could be a weather station in your home, but that could also be a photograph, what you do with your smartphone, where we do artificial intelligence algorithms to get out information about clouds, about damages, what we integrate again in our models, in our simulations, and give you the better forecast as a response. We have a big cooperation, for example, with the Austrian Fire Department. They get the best forecast we can ever do, a specialized forecast for their emergencies. When there's a fire in the woods, for example, they need a special soil moisture, for example. They need wind directions, they need wind strengths. They can use this on their smartphone. They can use it on their smartwatch. They do pictures of the emergency, send it back to us. We analyze it and do a live modeling through our supercomputers to have a better forecast on this place.
Excellent. You talked a bit about communities, leveraging lots of different technologies. I guess that's a good way for us to help connect the dot to us talking here at SUSECON. Obviously, open source, the community is a big piece of what we are hearing at the show. Talk to us a little bit about, the SUSE, what technologies are using them, what's the role of open source? Is that a key piece of how you look at technology?
Nothing is more boring than the weather from yesterday. So what we need is a really fast development of our forecasts to our customers. And SUSE helps us there. We have special services, especially on our supercomputers, where we use the special SUSE operating system. We use SUSE on our storage systems, on our software-defined storage system, to have a quicker development to our customers, to our cooperation partners. And the last big thing is we use SUSE on containering platforms and on AI platforms. So the new SUSE AI platform, we try to do forecasts for avalanches, for snow avalanches. And that's a really, really big effort at the moment, because there are people dying every year in Austria, in the Alps, because of avalanches. And maybe we can save some of them because we do a good forecast together with SUSE.
Excellent. You talk about moving to containerization. Give us a little insight. You are a government agency. How easy is it for you to take advantage of new technologies? Any guidance you can give as to things that you've gone through that might be able to help.
Mm-hmm. Innovation and new technologies are kind of moving on the edge, because on the one hand, we are 24/7 the whole year long We have to be high availability, very, very stable. On the other hand, we want to have new technologies, new innovations. So it's really, really working on the edge. We use two groups, two separate data centers. On one hand, we do all the stable thing, the high availability things. On the other things, on the other data center, on the other group, they are doing the cool new things. They do containerization, they do blockchaining, they do artificial intelligence moves. And the thing is, they are working together. They are connected. Let me tell it this way. We have a very, very experienced head of our one group, our stable 24/7 group, and very, very young, high potential on our innovation group. To be honest, first 2 weeks, they hated each other because the one guy wanted to have the innovation and going forward and forward and forward. And the other one said, no, stop. We have to be stable. That's the most important thing. After 4 weeks, with a lot of maintenance for sure, and with a lot of guidance, they started to love each other because they can learn from each other. And that's the main point. We learned about all these things. Now we can combine stable technology with new technology, with cool new things, which can be proved on the one side and integrated in the stable side a little later.
That's an excellent story to learn from. Learning so important. Great to hear that the more traditional reliable group and the new innovation group work together. Of course, can't let you go talking about weather without touching on climate. So anybody that's watched the space with this global pandemic has been some interesting, I guess you'd say, positive side effects. There are parts of the world where pollution's cleaned up, major impacts on climate that I'd expect you have some interesting data on. What can you share when it comes to climate change? Any advice you'd give for business leaders that are looking to help contribute in a positive way?
Okay, sure. Actually, in our data center, we are also data hub for the ESA, the European Space Agency, for their Sentinel data. This data is very interesting because it has it shows a direct impact how the climate is changing. The most important thing I can tell you as a CIO, it is changing. That's the most important thing. What we are looking for is how can we combine data to stop this climate change? How can we show other leaders, politicians, etc., how to stop it? How can we work against it? And how can we cooperate to work against it? The thing is, if we only show as a weather service our climate data, that's nice to have. We see the curve that's going to be warmer and warmer, and that the parameters are changing. But that's not the goal. The goal is how can we work together? How can we link data together to stop pollution, to stop several kind of attributes, to stop climate change? We started to do some collaborations with big companies. One of these is SUSE. One of these is Hewlett Packard, to work together, to combine resources, to combine compute power, to combine storage, to combine knowledge, especially data, to stop climate change.
Excellent. So Günther, final question is, anything you've been seeing change, being a CIO, question we always have, something we heard in the keynote is, the changing role of the CIO. You talked a bit about AI, talk about, you live with, actual clouds and supercomputers. So, what in 2020 is kind of different about the role of CIO?
What I really learned is IT is not the supporting company or the supporting department anymore. IT is the strategic partner of each domain we have. We had all our scientists, and they always told us, we are the scientists and we need IT. From several years now, they started to work together with the IT, with artificial intelligence, with big data analytics, with several platforms, with integrations, how to solve problems. So the CIO especially is not the IT leader anymore. It's more the management partner of the management board. So that means the integration of the CIO in the whole company is much, much more than it was several years ago. Meg Whitman, I met years ago, and we had a good talk, told me there is no company anymore without IT. That's not correct. There is no company anymore that is IT. Even agriculture is IT. Everything is IT. It's no support anymore. It's linking anymore.
Excellent. Yeah, Günther, such an important point. You talk about if a company is going to thrive in the modern era, data is such a critical piece of that. That gives you as a CIO a seat at the table to work closely with them, because if the business needs to be driven by data, the CIO's role of connecting IT and the business is so important. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. Pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right, and we'll be back with more coverage from SUSECON Digital 20. I'm Stu Miniman, and thank you for watching theCUBE.